like to do a quick review of the exam on Kant's moral philosophy. If you would like a more detailed response to your answers, just let me know and we'll set up a meeting, either virtual or in person, in which we go over your answers for the exam. But this should serve, I think, as a guide. Number one, what does the first version of the categorical imperative tell you to do? It tells you to only act so that your rule of action, what he calls your maxim of action, can serve as a law for everybody or a universal law. Another way of putting it would be that your maxim of action should be universalizable. Number two, what does the second version of the categorical imperative tell you to do? It tells you to treat all persons as ends in themselves and to never treat a person as a mere means to one of your ends. Number three, explain the difference between an imperative and a statement. An imperative gives an order or a command. It tells you to do something. A statement describes the world in some way, makes some truth claim about the way things are. Number four, explain the difference between a hypothetical imperative and a categorical one. A hypothetical imperative has a condition. It tells you to do something, but only if a condition applies. So it always has an if. It is an imperative. It says do this, but it always has an if that precedes that. That is, if you want this, then do this, or if you want this, then do that. Whereas categorical imperative just simply tells you unconditionally to do something. It has no exceptions or conditions. Number five, explain the difference between something having subjective worth and something having objective worth. Something has subjective worth if somebody finds it worthy, if it in some way or another pleases somebody, or because of their desires or inclinations, if they want it or find it valuable. So something having subjective worth only has worth if somebody values it, or it has value because somebody values it. Whereas something having objective worth has intrinsic worth. That is, it has worth no matter what, and irrespective of whether anyone actually finds it valuable, it's valuable in itself. Number six, Kant mentions at least three things which have objective worth. Name as many as you can. Pretty much just, name. If you're in the right, if you're going in the right direction, I gave you four. One is duty, of course, or no, excuse me, not duty, a goodwill. He starts out the reading by saying that the only thing that is good in itself is a goodwill. But then he indicates two other things that might be considered to be good in themselves or have objective worth. One is the moral law. And then finally, and I would say most importantly, the person has objective worth. Number seven, prompted by a feeling of love and pity, I give money to someone in need. According to Kantian moral philosophy, does my action have moral worth? Why or why not? My action does not have any moral worth, according to Kantian moral philosophy, because no action that's prompted by feeling, even a feeling of love, ever has moral worth. Because the only actions that have moral worth are ones that are prompted by a recognition of duty. So, unless you are acting because you've recognized that you have a duty to act, that is, you've made that mental um, commitment. I have a duty to do this. The law commands me to do this. Then the act has no moral worth. So that's a big part of Kantian philosophy, that even benevolent feelings like love and pity, if they prompt us to action, they're not bad actions, but they're not morally good actions either. Finally, eight, for Kant, what relevance does happiness have to morality? A fine answer to this would be none. Now, perhaps the situation is more complicated because he does talk about happiness quite a bit, but the straight up answer is happiness has no relevance to morality for Kant. Now, again, he recognizes that we all want to be happy, and this is an important part of human life. and maybe is the basis for all hypothetical imperatives, but it is not the basis for any categorical one. And so it is not part of any moral imperative. So I would definitely, I did, you know, consider answers that were more complex or went into other areas. But the straight up answer is there is no relevance.